If you're curious about what the easily promoted rock stars do that distinguishes them from others, I'm going to share one of their secrets with you. It has to do with getting and using really honest feedback. By the end of this video, you'll have 5 scripts to request actionable feedback with confidence. For the best strategies on taking your career to the next level, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you'll be notified when I post new content every Tuesday. I'm Christina dellisanti-Miller, a full potential realized, and I worked in big corporates for more than 20 years, consulting to and developing leaders. And I've helped hundreds of women take their career to the next level, even in many instances beyond what they thought was possible. One of the things I had to do when I was responsible for diversity was to really figure out how the promotion process worked. And what I learned was there's a promotion committee. They put the group of people being considered for promotion into 3 groups: definite yes, maybe, and definite no. The definite no, they don't spend any time on. The definite yes, they don't spend any time on. And they spend most of their time arguing and negotiating and jockeying around the maybes and figuring out who's getting through and who's getting not. So my question was, what is it about the definite yeses that makes them a definite yes? And in my research, interviewing executives and people who had been through the process to get to senior levels, that was one of the questions I asked. And what I heard as a theme over and over was people who are rock stars get the feedback, they react to it well, and they use it. So I'm just wondering, have you ever used getting feedback as a tool to advance your career? And if so, how did you go about getting the feedback? What did you say? Post in the comments below. I'd love to hear what approach you used and what you said that was working well for you. 3 things popped for me in this interview process about finding out what the superstars do to move their career forward, and specifically about feedback. One was, you have to understand what the promotion process looks like. Who are the people? What are they looking for? And how do you make it easy to showcase what you have to have it match up with what they're looking for? That's number 1. Number 2, you might not have gotten the honest feedback that you need. And people in the interviews especially pointed out that sometimes for women it's even harder, that managers are not great at giving feedback in general, but they're even especially tentative when it comes to giving feedback to women. And if it's great feedback, then they're happy to be articulate, but if it's constructive feedback, a lot of times they're silent and awkward. So there might be something that you need to know that it's going to take having the right relationships and asking the right questions to figure out, because it's not going to just be volunteered for you. Third thing is, there might be something that needs to be repaired, but it might be in your blind spot. So again, having the right relationships and asking the right questions can help you uncover where you need to go back and do some damage control. So I'm going to just read you 3 quotes from these interviews that illustrate each of those 3 points. For the first one, don't assume you're doing a good job. The person said, you can't be oblivious to how these decisions are made. You have to know how to influence the decision, and you must ask for it. For the second point about you might not have gotten the feedback that you need, they said, seek the information that isn't getting fed. Get over the wall preventing you from hearing what you need to hear. And the third one, figure out the person who is least supportive of you and get his or her feedback. If you can convert that person, everyone else falls into place. So 3 different people, 3 different comments, but that illustrate those points, I think, beautifully. So what actions can you take? Let's talk about 3 actions you can take that will help you use feedback in a way that's valuable. So I've already pointed to the 3 things that you can do to have this be part of your ongoing process. And the first one is actually have it be part of your ongoing process. So you're continuing to ask for feedback, and you're making it part of your routine or your career development activities to seek information, process it, make sense of it, and then use it to tweak or align your performance a little better. The second one is keep building these broad networks of relationships and cultivate the kind of relationships where people will be honest, where there can be candor. And the third one is figure out how to ask the right questions. One of the things in my role as a consultant that I learned that was asking the right questions makes such a huge difference about what data you get to work with. Because you can ask a lot of questions and get a lot of information, but it never gets really at the heart of it. Whereas all of a sudden you ask the right question and boom, like it opens up the floodgates and you really get to understand like what's at play and how to make sense of it. So the third thing is getting a set of questions that when you use them, you figure out, how to get to it. So for example, in my interviews, When I ask things like, well, tell me about the unwritten rules, or, people would say, well, there's no unwritten rules, it's really pretty straightforward. But then I would say, okay, tell me about somebody who was very successful and was promising and was promoted, and how do we distinguish them from somebody who was very promising but did not get promoted, right? Then all of a sudden, all those unwritten rules come out, because the question is framed in a way that people can really distinguish the information that you want to get. So I'm going to give you 5 different ways to request feedback in a way that makes it less uncomfortable for you and also less uncomfortable for the other person, so that they can access the information that you need and deliver in a way that you can hear it. So the first one is around results. You might say something like, I'm trying to produce these specific results with my team, with my client, and the organization, and I'm wondering from your vantage point what I might stop, start, or continue with modifications that will help me best drive these results. Another question under the results heading is, have you ever had an experience like this, and might you offer any tips about how I might produce these same kind of results? The second one is event-based, and you're asking ahead of time, can I please have some feedback when I go and do this pitch, presentation, sales close, team meeting? And what do you recommend that I do to raise my game? And your unvarnished feedback would be really appreciated here. Third one is relationship-based and navigating your network effectively. So the question is like, who might I spend time to really build my relationship with, and what do you think would really improve the relationship? So this fourth one is level-based, and you want to do this with enough lead time, like maybe a year or more from when you want to be considered. So you're asking your manager or key stakeholder, I'd really like to be considered to be nominated, for instance, as a director. Can you walk me through what it would take to be successful? How can I be proactive in this? I'm thinking about my future career, and I'm looking forward to being promoted to director at some point. Can you walk me through what I need to do to be successful? What do I need to do for you to want to nominate me to promotion for director? Right, so those are some examples. The fifth one is role-based. I'm really thinking about a role in the future as XYZ, and I'm building my development plan to help me get prepared for that. I'd really like you to help me prioritize. What do you think excellent performance in a role like that looks like, and where do you see my strengths aligning with that, and where do you see me needing to close some gaps or raise my game? Asking for feedback is just one step inside a bigger process. So if you're interested in learning my 8-step system for moving your career forward with ease, I have a free training. You can access it at fullpotentialrealized.com/advance. fullpotentialrealized.com/advance. Happy to hear your feedback on it. I'd love if you take advantage of that. Check out these other videos on getting promoted, taking your career to the next level, taking on more responsibility, or just increasing your compensation. If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share with your friends. I look forward to seeing you next time.